a horrific death suffered by 9 human beings. And today, inside that courtroom in Akron, Ohio, was the reality check. Take a listen.
Victim A, Cameron Huggins, 16-month-old male, infant.
Victim B.
Victim B, Kyle Huggins, 5-year-old male.
And I'm showing you now on the screen here, so when you said victim A, this was...
This is how they appeared
the infant
initially.
And B was?
Kyle Huggins.
And how old was Kyle?
Kyle was 5 years old.
Okay. And then victim C?
Victim C, Deja Huggins, 6-year-old female. She was recovered underneath her father, Dennis Huggins.
Victim D?
Victim D, Olivia Huggins, 3-year-old female. She was also recovered underneath her father, Dennis Huggins.
And victim E?
Victim E, Angela Huggins, the 38-year-old female. She's laying on her back.
And victim F?
Victim F, Jared Boggs, was the 14-year-old male. He was recovered from the stairwell leading to the second floor attic.
And so for clarification on this slide, it has F and is pointing toward that direction. He is not actually in this picture, is that fair?
That is fair.
Okay. And victim G?
Victim G was Dennis Huggins, the 35-year-old male. He was recovered in a supine position, laying on top of the victims B, C, and D.
And then there was a family pet that was recovered also?
Yes, sir.
And in the photograph, it's just his family pet. There's no letter designation. Is that fair?
No, sir.
And that would be the location that was recovered?
Yes.
Just the description. 35-year-old father with his children underneath him, trying to do what he can to shield them, to protect them in a horrific situation. They all lost their lives. An entire family wiped out. That's the reality of this case. And you know, that's why we're talking about a death penalty trial here. Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim Akron, who's joining us tonight from Akron, Ohio. This is difficult, always difficult. I think an important part of the case, though. You've got to give this jury the reality check and let them know what it's all about. Give us an idea of what this jury heard and what this jury saw today relative to the victims in this case.
Well, the clip that you played really illustrates a lot of what they heard today. Really graphic testimony from a series of investigators and a forensic examiner. And they also got to see some really haunting images of that burned out shell of a home where that family of 7 died. In fact, this material was so graphic that at the beginning of the day, the defense renewed a motion to exclude these images, these images of the home and also some of the testimony. They argued that it was prejudicial, and the prejudicial nature of it actually outweighed the probative value regarding this trial. And ultimately, obviously, the judge decided to view the photos and admit them and allow the jury to see them. And clearly, there was reason why the defense wanted to keep this all out.
Yeah, and I understand the defense is doing their job, trying to do their job, but I think the judge made the right call here. I mean, the jury has to understand what actually happened here. This isn't hypothetical. This isn't like, a TV show. No, this is about 9 people who suffered a horrific death, and for the jury to understand that, I think, is an important part when they are trying to figure out the truth here in what happened. Now, I understand during the course of the day today that you had an opportunity to speak with family member of the defendant.
Yeah, so actually we have noticed that the brother of Stanley Ford has been in the public viewing room throughout so much of this trial, and we've actually interacted with him a few times, offered him the chance to go on camera, which he's refused, but he's expressed to us that after seeing the evidence and hearing the testimony, he is inclined to believe that his brother is guilty of these crimes. And he also shared that there's mental illness which runs in their family as well. So it's pretty remarkable. Of course, we cover a lot of trials, and it's pretty unusual that you have a family member of the defendant actually kind of leaning towards a guilty verdict.
Yeah, this whole case is incredibly tragic on many different levels. But, you know, prosecutors putting together this case, being able to convince the brother of the defendant, I think gives us an indication where this may be going with the jury. I want to take a listen to a little bit more from Lieutenant William Horner from the Akron Fire Department. Again, all this testimony about the damage that was done and how these people died.
When you got to this scene, this house was pretty badly damaged, so to speak. Is there safety concerns for the firemen at that point?
Absolutely. So when we initially got on scene, other than the report of trying to locate the potentially 8 victims, we were not to enter on the first floor because it was heavily damaged. We could not go into the second floor windows because it was so heavily damaged. The ceiling or the floor of the second floor was hanging down a couple of feet. So when you peered in through the front door, you could actually see some of the floor joists or support members that were hanging down in front of the door.
All right.
So we could not enter until there was proper shoring or securing of that structure to prevent harming us.
All right, and is that where when you said you could see part of the floor coming down, you said there was a body part
Correct.
that was recognized. And what was an arm or leg?
It looked to be an arm, it ended up being an arm.
So tell us, you said you believe that the first person you took out was the child, the baby?
Yeah, because again, once we started moving some stuff around, because there's a lot of debris there, so we started moving some of the drywall, some of the clothing. There was a dresser, there was some blankets and stuff, and then the easiest order to remove them in regards to, because the floor was still unstable, and the adult victims are a lot more difficult to move. That was going to take multiple people lifting them up. So we tried to do it as easy as possible to get the victims out as best as we could.
All right. Fair to say it's not a pleasant process?
No, it was not pleasant at all.
So where did you find, can you tell us where you found each individual? Because I know in the pictures you can't tell. So you said the baby was with the mother.
Correct.
All right. And then who else did you find? And I know you don't necessarily know the names, but...
Sure. Like I said, it appeared the mom was holding the infant, and then we saw the teenage son in the stairwell. So there's those 3, and then the family pet. What you couldn't really see, we saw the face of the one child kind of underneath Dad's chest, but then there was 2 other small children that were underneath him as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you found them once you removed Dad?
Yes, because you could not see them at all until we started moving Dad.
Right. And then once they were removed and taken down the ladder outside, ultimately it was Lieutenant Webb then trying to identify each individual that was brought out.
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, it's not easy. You know, you get that jury notice in the mail, you come down and then you do your civic duty and you've got to figure out what happened here. And to me, this is an important part of it. We shouldn't shield jurors from the truth of what happened. Let's bring in our think tank tonight. We've got a great one. Joining us tonight in Houston, Texas, criminal defense attorney Brian Weiss. In Cleveland, Ohio, criminal defense attorney and law professor at Cleveland State, Ian Friedman. And in San Diego, California, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Brian Watkins, who you can contact at brianwatkinslaw.com. Okay, Brian Weiss, I'll begin with you. To me, this is an important day. And it's not just an important day for prosecutors, I think it's an important day for the jury. We ask jurors to come down and figure out what happened and figure out the facts. And oftentimes there are attempts to shield the jury from the facts of the case. Not happening here. They're getting to hear what happened to the victims here. I think it's important. I think it's right.
Vinny, you're absolutely correct. Look, most of us aren't really fit for the task of walking inside a courtroom and sitting in judgment on another human being. We hope and we pray maybe that day never comes. But the facts of this case are so uniquely egregious on so many levels that it will test the intellectual fortitude and mettle of almost anybody. And I've talked to jurors in cases that I've been involved in on appeal that involved graphic or gruesome crime scene photos, and they have said, look, we ultimately remembered these events long after we walked out of the courtroom, and it was so bad that some of them actually believe that they suffered, as do some jurors, Vinny, from post-traumatic stress disorder, given the unique and graphic nature of what they have to contend with in cases like this.
Ian Friedman, your thoughts about this type of evidence, this type of day for the jury, for figuring out the truth, which is what we asked the jury to do.
Yeah, so as we discussed last week, Vinny, last week since the start of the trial, the state just kind of had to move methodically through the case to establish that there was, in fact, the fire and an arson. You can't just jump to that conclusion. They've got to go through all those little steps. Today was the day that the jury, some of them who may not have wanted to be there, some of them who were just kind of listening and, looking at the facts stuff. Today is the day where everyone's feet got planted. It became emotional. This was the big meaningful day, as you said. Now they're committed. This is going to be it's a heavy, heavy courtroom from this day forward. I will say this about the evidence. I don't necessarily agree that the defense is trying to shield the jury from the truth. They have a job to make sure that, the evidence is being presented, but not in a way that is beyond that which is necessary to give the truth. We can't inflame the senses of the jury. And so that's why the evidence rules are set out like that. You say, give this over, but you don't need to go beyond that so that they're thinking with their hearts. We need them looking at this very academically. That's all they're doing, is making sure the evidence is what is necessary in the case.
Brian Watkins, I think it's necessary. How about you?
I don't, Benny. I completely disagree. It's absolutely not necessary. The only thing that's necessary in a trial is relevant evidence. What is relevant evidence? Evidence that tends to prove or disprove a disputed fact. The question here is not whether or not fire is hot, whether or not fire kills, or what someone looks like once they've been burned to death. Those are not the issues here. The issue here is a single issue, is who lit the fire. What the fire did is irrelevant to the question of who lit the fire. And it is completely wrong to inflame the emotions of the jury. We don't want the jury to be emotional. We want you to think with your head, look at the evidence, be rational, and then come to a conclusion. Letting in that type of evidence is completely wrong and prejudicial against the defendant. It does not answer the question, who lit the fire? That's the question. Who lit it? Not how bad does fire damage people? That is irrelevant.
Let's bring back in Joy Lim Nakrin, who is in Akron, Ohio. Joy, so where are we right now in the trial, and what do we expect as we go back in session on Monday?
Yeah, so the state is expected to continue their case and ultimately rest their case at some point next week. We've yet to hear from the medical examiner regarding the deaths of this family of 7. So the medical examiner who we heard on the stand talking about the cause and manner of Lindell Lewis's death and Gloria Hart's death, we do expect to be recalled and address the deaths of the other 7 victims. And then after the state rests its case, we expect to hear the defense then start to present their case as well. And, it's not clear at this point whether the defendant himself will take the stand, but that's something that, of course, we'll be watching for.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's necessarily guaranteed or likely, but I think it is possible. A defendant like this may take the stand. Joy Lim Nakrin in Akron, thank you so much.